You're listening to Make Today Count podcast. I'm Jessica Morari, certified life and career coach, and I will be your host. If you're ready to think better, choose better, and act even when it's messy, you're exactly where you need to be. Let's make today count. Hello, you, and welcome back to Make Today Count. Well, welcome for the first time if you somehow skipped episode 0. Of course, I couldn't start from anything else but from the core of what I do and my number one mission, which is helping people create their own definition of success and make it happen. So yes, my friend, today we're going to talk about success. Why do I put so much focus and effort and energy on this concept if there are so many people that already talk about it and many of them are bloody famous and appreciate it? Well, because clearly I don't like the way most people talk about success. Yes, we talk a lot about success. There are tons of books about it and podcasts and YouTube videos and whatever you can think of. But I feel that we haven't really grasped the most important concept yet, or at least we don't repeat it often enough. Success is a personal matter. We really have to stop measuring and chasing success based on a collective definition. I always make an experiment during my workshops, and when we start, I ask people, what does success mean to them? First of all, 99% of the times, they reply with emotions, how they aim to feel. They want to feel appeased, they want to feel content or loved or fulfilled. Up until now, and it's been almost 4 years that I've been doing this, nobody has replied a job title or like owning something like a fancy car or yacht or anything of that luxury stuff. Yes, I'm doing inverted commas. I cannot recall one single person that told me one of those things. And even if it was something around money, when we investigated a bit, it was more about the feeling that money would give them, like peace of mind or freedom to do something they really love. You've got the point. And watch out, I'm not saying that money is not important. I love money and I think it's a great facilitator for so many beautiful things, and it can really make your life easier in so many ways. And we're definitely going to talk about money more in the upcoming episodes. What I'm trying to say here is that what we all want at the end of the day is not the thing itself, but more of how we think we're going to feel when we get it. And the second thing that happens when I ask what success means for them is that even if the concept of success might be the same, so feeling peaceful, feeling loved, feeling free, etc., the meaning of that concept is different for each one of them. Maybe to be peaceful to you means waking up in the morning with a husband by your side and 2 kids jumping to kiss you the good morning. For my friend, it might be to finally find a stable job in the field of her dreams. For me, it can mean living in the middle of the mountain and having cows as neighbors. Each one of us aims for that peaceful feeling, but the situation we associate with it, the meaning of that concept, is completely different. And that's why I say, well, it's not that I say this, I didn't invent this, but this is why I insist so much in repeating that success is a personal matter. And that's basically why I do what I do. My focus, my mission is to really help people create their own definition of success and actually go for it. Even when that definition does not look like what 99.9% of the people think. Even if you'll get funny looks when you share it. Even if it means stepping away from what's traditionally considered as success. Along the way, as we grow up and become more adults, we take on so many labels, so many definitions that are not even ours. We borrow it from our family when we're younger, we borrow it from friends, from society, from social media, basically from anything else but ourselves. And I'm asking you now, how many times have you stopped and checked if the idea of success that you're chasing right now is really yours? How many times have you checked how much of that idea of success is aligned with your real values and who you want to be? Actually, I bet that if I'd ask you right now, which are your core values, again, not the ones that you borrowed, but yours for real, you might not even be able to name them. Because I love definitions, and you probably see that I will use them quite often, I went to check on the Cambridge Dictionary and pulled out the definition of success. It says, the achieving of the results wanted or hoped for. I repeat it. And the key here is on wanted and hoped for. The achieving of the results wanted and hoped for. If you're chasing something that deep down you don't want or that you couldn't care less about, well, it's normal that when you reach it, you kind of don't feel anything. You feel that something is off. You have ended up in a place that you simply didn't want to get to. I'm going to give you an example because I think that life is easier with examples. Let's say I need to pick a honeymoon trip and I'm a mountain lover and my dream is visiting the Alps and skiing there with my husband. And everyone in my group of friends bangs about how cool it is going to the Maldives. And on Instagram, I see everyone posting pictures of those crystal clear waters and romantic settings. And then I go to my favorite travel agency and they tell me that the most popular destination for honeymooners is Maldives. And then everyone absolutely loves it. I end up going to the Maldives because that's the right thing to do. That's the right thing to want. That's the right trip for honeymooners. Except that's not what I want. So when I get there, it's like as if I went to the local lake because that's not really what I wanted to be in the first place. The Maldives are still an amazing place, still a top destination for newlyweds, but it's not the destination for me. And now, how often do we do with this with our life? We dedicate so much time, effort, energy, and sometimes even money to reach destinations, to reach goals that we borrowed from others. The achieving of the results wanted and hoped for. I wanted to keep reflecting on this one. So now the question should be, what do we actually want and hope for? Often, and when I say often, I might be probably say like the majority of what I see around equals success to career. So every time this concept pops up, there is a kind of involuntary connection and direct link to one main topic, which is career. We tend to measure all our success based on how well we're doing in our job, always based on those societal and cultural labels that we talked about before. And I'm sure that if I asked you right now to think about successful jobs, we will almost all think about the same ones. You might say doctor, lawyer, architect, bankers, actors, as if those roles, those careers, automatically come with a certain human quality and life quality. When I say successful career or successful person, we probably would never think of a farmer or a florist or a shoemaker. But what if those things are those that make you happy? Happiness and success are not a prerogative of managers or directors of company owners. And contrary to what we believe and think, success is an extremely democratic concept. The problem is that we have boxed it into one single area of life, which is the career, the personal space, our job, our business. But we forget that life does not end there. Success is not a job title. And this is the moment where I usually come in with a metaphor, which I love metaphors. I always think about success as a diet. And like any good diet, it needs to be balanced to be healthy. and also sustainable in terms of energy and in terms of time. You can't just eat one thing every day and expect to thrive and feel energized and full of life. Imagine eating chicken all day. Maybe you eat chicken because you love the taste. Maybe you eat it because you read somewhere that it helps grow muscles. Maybe it's the only thing available at the supermarket, or maybe that's the only thing you know how to cook. In any case, whatever the reason, you eat chicken all day, every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now, I don't personally eat chicken, but even if I did, the only thought of eating just one thing 24/7 simply makes me feel sick. Well, bring this to your life and think of that chicken as work. How many times do we focus just on one ingredient in our life and forget about anything else that we actually need and want to feel happy, healthy, and full of life? Some of us get obsessed with work, so we overwork and neglect anything else to get that promotion or hit that target. Others get obsessed with finding the right partner and let their own personal growth or health or professional development down. Whatever the case, you can see there is a lack of sustainability. So if we keep going with the diet metaphor, which is fun, how would an ideal diet look like? I'm going to start with the obvious one, which are the greens, which would be health. Health and vegetables have a lot of things in common. And the main one is that everyone talks about the importance of it. We talk about the importance of health in terms of physical, mental, and emotional health, but few actually make room for it on their plate. That's the same that happens with vegetables. We know we should prioritize rest and therapy and hydration and boundaries, and you can name anything. But we push it aside because we have another project, because there is a deadline, because you don't want to let people down, or you keep postponing your health because you'll do it once you have a bit more time and things are calmer, which we know it's a lie. And you should know by now that without help, everything else collapses. Then, of course, we've got the carbs, which is seen as the relationships. And I know it's a controversial topic, both for carbs and relationships. Carbs have been demonized, and so have relationships. You might think of yourself as a lone wolf, the hyper-independent achiever who doesn't need anyone. But let's be honest, that even wolves hunt in packs. If there is one thing that the pandemic really reminded us is that we're not meant to be alone. Connection is not optional. People and human connections are the reason why we are on this planet. Everyone wants to love and especially to be loved, even the ones that pretend not to. And I will add that even if your idea of success isn't based on relationships as a core value, you will still need the people around you to reach that idea of success, one way or another. The third category is a complicated one for me, and it's chocolate, which represents joy, the pleasure, even the pleasure of doing something just because. I was grown up with the idea that enjoyment was a guilty pleasure, like it's only allowed after hard work or when everything else has been handled. My mom, bless her, always used to say, duty before pleasure. And in my head, I brought that to the extreme. Because there were always something to do, there was always a duty to feel, to become better and to evolve. I postponed pleasure and enjoyment like forever. Until I had an epiphany and I truly gave myself permission to enjoy life in the meanwhile. I was still working hard and focused on my goals, but now I know that I'm allowed and actually I have the responsibility to have fun while I do it. And since we're talking about food, yes, I eat a piece of chocolate almost every day after dinner. So add some play. Do things that make no sense and have no return on investment, but make you happy. And the last one, the last category, is the protein. I have left this category at last because for most people, that's the main dish. And we usually never forget about it. Again, we antagonize the carbs, we skip the chocolate, and we conveniently forget about the vegetables. But we never lose focus when it comes to the protein. And you might realize by now that in these metaphor, proteins are career, your job, your business, your professional development, anything that has to do with your ambitions. That's important, of course. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not inviting you to be less ambitious. On the contrary, I cherish and encourage you to become more and more ambitious, because when you take care of the rest of your diet, when you really look at the full picture of your life, you will be so much more effective and reaching goals in this sphere too. What I want for you is to remember that it can't be the only thing you eat. So when I say redefine success, I don't mean throw it all away and move to the cabin in the woods, which is fine if that's what makes you happy. But I mean, you need to check your plate. What's missing? What have you been overeating? What are you allergic to but keep consuming anyway because everyone else does? A healthy diet is very much like a healthy version of success, which means that it looks very different for each one of us. So my friend, this is all for episode number 1. If I gave you food for thought, pun intended, I'd love for you to stick around for the next episode. And maybe to share this with someone who's struggling on what's on their plate at the moment, because sharing is caring. Thanks for listening. Take care of yourself and make today count. See you next week. Ciao, ciao.